Good morning, students. Welcome to the English class. So, in the last class, we learned the poem Travel Flowers by Marilyn Lord. In this class, we'll see the exercises associated with this chapter. So, let's see the first one. In page number 46, I suggest you please take your textbook and notebook with you. The first question, reading comprehension. Fill in the blanks with words from the poem to complete its summary. Stanza 1. The poet travels across the dash and sees beautiful flowers along the roadside. So, the first question is regarding the first stanza. So, all of you, please turn the page and take the first stanza. Read the first stanza of the poem Travel Flowers, which is in page number 44. When you travel across the country, you see along the roadways bright and cheerful flowers, especially in the warm spring and summer days. And you see the word given here with an apostrophe. How do you read it? This word is read as cross, but the meaning is across. Yeah? So, I hope you have read the first stanza of the poem. So, from the first stanza of the poem, let's complete the question given here. The poet travels across the where? Across the country. It is mentioned when you travel across the country, you see along the roadways bright and cheerful flowers, especially in the warm spring and summer days. So, the poet is traveling across the country. Now, let's see the second question. Stanza 2. Big yellow dash sway in the dash wind and greet the poet with a nod. So, all of you, please read the second stanza of the poem. I love the beautiful sunflowers, bold yellow blooms you see, nodding in the gentle winds seem to say hello to me. So, did you read? So, from the stanza, let's try to find out the answer for this big yellow dash sway. So, I love the beautiful sunflowers, bold yellow blooms you see, nodding in the gentle winds seem to say hello to me. So, what are the big yellow things that sway in the wind? Big yellow sunflowers sway in the gentle wind and greet the poet with a nod. Now, the third question. Stanza 3. The poet sees clumps of lovely dash flowers in the dash soil by the side of the road. So, let's read the third stanza of the poem. White flowers alongside a trail, roots go deep in red dirt, stand out just beautifully as they crop up in little spurts. So, you see this word here, alongside with an apostrophe. What does this mean? It means alongside. See, it's written long with an apostrophe. It means it is along. Okay. So, what does this mean? The poet sees clumps of lovely what? White flowers alongside a trail. Roots go deep in red dirt. Here, dirt refers to or dirt means soil. So, red soil. Where does the flowers grow? The flowers grow in red colored soil or red soil. Stand out just beautifully as they crop up in little spurts. What does crop up means? Crop up here means the flowers are growing in bunches full of life. So, that is what crop up in little spurts mean. So, let's write down the answer for the third question. The answer here is the poet sees clumps of lovely white flowers in the red soil by the side of the road. Clear? Now, let's see the fourth question. Far from the roadside, the poet sees old barns in the middle of fields. There is dash grass and lots of flowers around the barns. So, let's read the fourth stanza of the poem. Old barns off in the distance, in the midst of a field of dry grass, are dotted with many flowers. Oh, I enjoy them when I pass. So, what is given in the fourth stanza? From the far from the roadside, the poet sees old barns in the middle of fields, and there is what kind of grass? Dry grass. and lots of flowers around the barn. So the answer here is there is dry grass and lots of flowers around the barns. So let's see the fifth question. The poet loves traveling in dash when it's not too cold and there is gentle rain and flowers blooming everywhere. So let's read the fifth stanza of the poem. Turn the page and read the fifth stanza. When springtime sets in and we have warm and gentle spring showers, I love to start my trips to see delightful travel flowers. So the poet loves traveling in dash when it's not too cold and there is gentle rain and flowers blooming everywhere. So we know in the last stanza, the poet was talking about her favorite time to travel, favorite time of the year to travel. So she was talking about which season? She was talking about the spring season. The poet loves traveling in springtime when it's not too cold and there is gentle rain and flowers blooming everywhere. So I hope you are clear with these questions. Now let's move on to section B. Read these sentences and answer the questions that follow. So what's the first question? You see along the roadways. A line from the poem is given and below that you are given two questions. What is the first question? Question 1a. Where are the roadways? So let's see the first stanza of the poem once again. When you travel across the country, you see along the roadways bright and cheerful flowers, especially in the warm spring and summer days. So what is the answer to the question? Where are the roadways? The roadways are across the country. Clear? Now what is question B? What does she see along the roadways? What does she see? She sees bright and cheerful flowers. So the poet sees or she sees bright and cheerful flowers along the roadways. Now let's move on to question number 2. Which line is given there? As they crop up in little spurts. And where is that line in the poem? The line given there is in the third stanza. So let's read the third stanza of the poem. White flowers alongside a trail, roots go deep in red dirt, stand out just beautifully as they crop up in little spurts. So let's see question number 2. To A, what are they? So what are this they that is referred here as they crop up in little spurts? What are this they mentioned in the stanza? So what are they? Here the poet is mentioning about the white flowers. The white flowers are cropping up, or the white flowers crop up in little spurts. So how do you write the answer for that? You can write the white flowers crop up in little spurts, and that they mentioned here is about the white flowers. Now what is question B? Where does the poet see them? The poet sees them and where the roots go deep in red dirt and where the white flowers alongside a trail. So the poet sees them alongside a trail rooted deep in red soil. Clear? Now question number 3. Nodding in the gentle winds. And which is the line given there? That line is from the second stanza of the poem. So let's read the second stanza of the poem. I love the beautiful sunflowers, bold yellow blooms you see, nodding in the gentle winds, seem to say hello to me. So who is nodding in the winds? The first question, who is nodding in the winds? The beautiful sunflowers are nodding in the gentle winds. So let's write the answer for that. The bold and the beautiful yellow sunflowers are nodding in the wind. What is question B? Who are they nodding at? The poet felt that the sunflowers are nodding at her. So let's write the answer. They are nodding at the poet. Now what is question C? What do they seem to be saying? The poet felt like the flowers were saying hello to her, right? So let's write the answer. They seem to be saying hello to the poet. Clear? Now let's move on to section C. Think and answer. In section C, you can see 3 questions and you're asked to think and answer. Children, you can do this as an activity now. Go through these 3 questions, read each question carefully and think about it. And what you think is the answer, that you write in your notebook. Do this activity now, pause the video, finish it and come back. And once we come back, let's discuss the answers. Children, I hope you are done with that activity. Now, let me share my thoughts on these questions and how I would have answered them. So let's see the first question. Question number 1, is the poet traveling through cities or the countryside? How do you know? So if I were to answer, I would have thought of the first stanza of the poem. In the first stanza, the poet says, when you travel across the country. So as the poet says, when you travel across the country, we understand that she's traveling through the countryside and not through cities. Clear? Is that what you also wrote? Now let's move on to question number 2. What is the weather like? So in the first stanza, the poet had mentioned about the season. She has mentioned that the days were warm and she was traveling in the warm spring and summer days. And throughout the poem, she has mentioned about the spring season, the beautiful spring season. So what is the weather like? It was spring season. So it's spring season, so the weather is warm and alive with beautiful flowers and spring showers. Now, the third question. Would you like to join the poet in her travels? Why or why not? See, if I could travel with the poet, I would definitely join the poet in her travels. I would like to join the poet. Yes, I would like to join the poet in her travels. Why? Because I still love to travel and explore the beauty of nature and experience different cultures. So that was about section C. Now, in page number 47, you can see this heading, appreciating the poem. Please look into your textbook now. Look at the words in red. I traveled across the country. I saw bold yellow blooms on my way. I love the seasons of spring and summer. You see these lines taken from the poem, and you can see some of the words are given in red here. And see these words cross, country. Both these words start with the sound k. And here bold, blooms. Both the words start with the sound b. And here seasons of spring and summer. So all these 3 words start with the sound s. So when a poet uses such words which begin with the same sound, when a poet uses such words near to each other in a poem, it's called an alliteration. Clear? It's called an alliteration. So below this box, you can see one poem given there. Now read this poem and circle the words that show alliteration. You can see this poem given there. You have to read the poem and you have to circle the alliterations given there. You can do this as an activity. You can pause this video now. Once you are done, please come back. So children, I hope you are done with that activity. Now let's discuss the answer. So let's read the poem once. I saw a ship sailing on the sea, and oh, it was all laden with pretty things for me. There were crumpets in the cabin and apples in the hold. The sails were made of silver and the masts were made of gold. The captain was a duck who stood upon the deck, and when the ship began to move, the captain said, quack, quack. Okay, so let's see the first line. I saw a ship a-sailing. So this word, saw and sailing. Both these words start with the sound s. So that is an alliteration. And let's see the second line. A sailing on the sea. So this word sailing on the sea. Sailing, sea. Now, is there any alliteration in the third line? Now, let's move on to the next stanza. There were crumpets in the cabin. So the word crumpets in the cabin. Crumpets, cabin. And apples in the hold. The sails were made of silver. The sails. Sails made of silver. Sails, silver. Both these words start with the sound s. and the masts were made of gold. What are masts? You see this tall structure in a ship, and these tall structures in a ship are called masts. Okay, and the masts were made of gold. So this word mast and made, these words is an alliteration. Example, so the captain was a duck who stood upon the deck. So these words, duck and deck, they both start with the sound the, and when the ship began to move, the captain said quack quack. So these two words, quack and quack, both are the same words and both start with the same sound. So that's also examples of alliteration. Children, you can go to the poem once again and see if there are any more examples of alliteration in the poem. And below that, you can see an exercise called vocabulary. You can do this as an activity for the day. And please turn the page now. Turn to page number 49 and you can see this question given there. Under the heading spelling, find any 6 words related to railways in the word grid. You can see a word grid here. You're supposed to find out 6 words hidden among these letters, and those words are related to railways. So you can pause the video for this activity and come back. Children, I hope you're done with that. Now let's see which are the words hiding in there. So we can see the word station, porter, platform, train, ticket and passenger. These are 6 words related to railways, and you can find all these words hidden in this word grid. You can check if any more words are hidden there. So the words are station, porter, platform, train, ticket and passenger. Now the next question, writing. You are on a holiday with your family at a new place. Write a diary entry on an exciting day you have had. Read this sample diary entry. See, does any one of you keep a diary to write about the happenings on each day? See, an example is given here. 1 September 2019, dear diary, we visited a new restaurant today. We had seen the new place but did not have the time to visit it. So we went there this evening for dinner. The name of the restaurant is Karnataka Foodies. We had bisibele bath, which is rice cooked with lentils and vegetables. We also had Mysore masala dosa and vada. The food was tangy, spicy and very tasty. Raji has requested mommy to take us there again next month. I'm feeling sleepy now. Good night. So this is a diary entry that a child wrote about her day, about the happenings that happened on September 1, 2019. So this is an example. Children, you can also start writing a diary. See, you can write anything in that. You can write the day-to-day happenings, if there is any birthday or if it was any special day. You can write about the memories that you made on that special day. And after many years, maybe months, maybe after many years, when you go through the diary once again, it will be a beautiful walk down the memory lane. So children, you can start writing a diary today. And have you heard of the girl named Anne Frank? Anne Frank was a girl who lived in Germany, and she used to write a diary about the difficult times she and her family had to go through while they were hiding to escape from the Nazis. And her diary became a classic work of literature in the history. If you're able to get hold of that, you can read that book. As an activity for the day, you can do the vocabulary exercise in page number 47, and also we can see this box given in page number 49, my word bank. So which are new words that you learned in this chapter that you can write here. And in page number 48, you can see the headings listening and speaking. So in listening, you can see the question is like, listen to this poem and the number the stanzas in the order that these actions take place in the poem. And in 3 boxes, you can see 3 lines. And those lines are part or are taken from a poem. You can arrange these 3 lines and you can turn that into a poem stanza. And it's about sequencing of lines in a poem. The way you sequence or arrange the lines in a poem affects how you analyze or how you enjoys or understands the poem. So this exercise is about how you sequence the lines in a poem. And the last exercise, speaking. Imagine you and your friends are planning a road trip. You'll be traveling in a small car and only one small suitcase will fit in the boot. With your friends, decide on the 10 most important things to take with you for the trip. So when you travel, what do? You pack up your things, right? So you're supposed to imagine you and your friends are going on a trip and you're asked to discuss about what all things to be packed, the 10 most important things to be packed, and have a conversation on this discussion about the trip. So it's a speaking exercise. I suggest you do this exercise with your friends or siblings or parents. So that's all for today, children. We have come to the end of chapter 3, Travel Flowers poem. So we'll meet in the next class with a new topic. Until then, bye.